This is Airspace by Mode Audio. This is an effects plugin for your DAW. And in here you have two reverb engines and one delay engine. And the two reverb engines are convolution reverbs that rely on impulses, recordings made in real space to give you the option of using that space around your own sounds. I was asked if I was interested in checking out this plugin, and since I was working on a track that needed a lot of space and ambience at that time, I thought, well, let's give it a go and see if it has something nice I can use on this track. And I ended up using only this plugin as effects in terms of reverbs and delays on the track. So let's see how I did it. And of course, this is coming at it from a 80s perspective. So let's check out what I've done so far, and I'll break down the different effects and how I've used them afterwards. So let's check out a couple of minutes here. There are two reverb engines here. One is called color, the other one is called space. You can use both at the same time, or just one or none for that matter. You can go for the delay only, but I've turned the delay off here, and I'm using both reverb engines. But let's turn off the space first, and let's focus on the color. In here you have lots of different impulses, and the impulses are recordings of real spaces, which you then can use inside the plugin as your reverbs. Here I'm using impulses from actual hardware. I'm using the ambience impulse from the Lexicon 300, which is a classic reverb. So let's start it up again and see what we can do. So as you can hear, you have ways of manipulating the space itself. You can change the mix, you can change the size of the impulse, the gain of the impulse. You have envelopes, you can set pre-delays, much of the things you can do in other reverbs as well, but and EQ. But since this is real recordings of real spaces, you have another type of sound to the reverbs, even if it's a recording of a hardware. And of course you have all these real spaces, and I especially like the namings here, which are of course names of real spaces. If I turn this off and go to the space engine, this is pretty much the same thing. As you can see, I've gone for a experimental texture here, which they've called rainbow tape hiss. Let's check that out. And together with this one, you have what made up my final sound for this ARP. Very nice. I didn't use the delay here at all, but if I turn off the reverbs, you can check that out and see what it does. It's a delay, all right. You have tempo sync, I see. You can set the different left and right delay times manually, I guess, by turning this off, yes. You have feedback for both, and you can high pass and low pass, and you can also modulate the delay. And from what I can see, using a pitch shifter, that can yield some funny results. Ah yes, let's turn this way up to hear it in full effect. Okay, nice. This can be a lot of fun, actually. Not something I wanted to use for this particular separate track, but it's a nice thing to have there. I'm also having a flute here, and on the flute I wanted a lot of ambience, really long spaces. So I set up another send effect for that. And I'm using some other settings here. I'm using a church, again from the Lexicon 300, church algo. Recordings of that, and I'm using a town hall clap for the space engine, and I'm also using the delays here. So let's check that out in isolation. Let's go to the flute here. It's sort of ringing in the background. Turn it off. So I'm using the delay engines and both the color and space to add a lot of space and have it ring out in the background. And I find that turning up the high shelf here on the color, can't remember if I did something here. Yes, I did here as well. Really brings out the flute nicely in the arrangement. So I'm not using any EQ on the sounds themselves. It's all done inside the plugins on the impulses. So that was all that was needed to really bring out the flute here. So let's check out the drums here. I have a little bit going here as well. And I've set up yet another instance of Airspace here. So let's check this out. I'm using only the color here. Again, the Lexicon 300. I seem to like this a lot on this track. But it sounds good. It sounds very good. But here we can check out the some of the more far out impulses. So let's check out the drums and percussion. And now you can hear how this plugin can affect the sound in a more severe way. That is cool. Another thing you can do, you can check out the loops here. Let's find one that's synced to the tempo. That's actually very cool. I like that one. Let's use that for the rest of the video. And what else? I have a Fairlight sample here. And we have the piano part. Let's check out that one as well. You can hear the delay here. What I really like is that we have a dry-wet knob up here, or a fader. Every plugin should have a dry-wet knob or fader, a mix knob like this on their plugins. Since I used Airspace as the only reverb in this track, can it now replace all my other reverb and delay plugins? Well, no, it cannot. But it is a nice addition to my arsenal of effects plugins. And I will definitely use this more in the future on different sounds. Convolution reverbs are a lot of fun to use, and you can really go far out with this plugin so far that you'll no longer recognize your original sound, and that is a good thing, but it's not something you'd use or want to use all the time. I definitely recommend you checking it out, and I'll leave a link for you in the video description. As always, I'm Espen Kraft. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!